John received the Blake School's Outstanding Alumni Award in 1989. As president of Outward Bound USA, the world's largest and oldest nonprofit venture-based educational organization, our esteemed honoree's very successful career path has been one which led him through the challenges of acquiring new skills to make whatever he took on better. By personal example, writing, speaking, and advising, he has championed the cause of volunteer service and commitment. He epitomizes the dynamic, constructive force which volunteers exert on our society. He was also a member of the first Navy underwater demolition team to be deployed by helicopter, an operation that led subsequently to the formation of the Navy SEALs. Since receiving the Blake Award, John has expanded upon his activities, serving as president and CEO of the National Peace Garden Foundation based in Washington, D.C. In 2007, Outward Bound USA gave him their Kurt Hahn Award, the organization's highest honor. The award recognized that the number of participants in Outward Bound courses expanded from 7,500 to over 30,000 students under his leadership, and that he himself completed 41 courses. Prior to his careers in the not-for-profit world, he was in senior positions in manufacturing, investment banking, and corporate development.
I'm delighted to be here. It's a great honor, and I've got a wonderful group of family as a clock in case there's any trouble with the audience that they're going to provide the applause and whatever is necessary. So, when I think back on it, I thought, why did I go to Williams? My father had died when I was 12, and so he wasn't around. My mother was kind of not really with it. She didn't know what I was up to, and so I had two wonderful older sisters, and so I said to them, "Where should I go to college?" And they said, "Well, John, the smoothest guys go to Williams." Yeah, I thought, that's it. I want to be smooth, so I'm going to Williams. Yeah, that was where I applied. And, of course, Williams to me has been a lifelong gift. It's just been wonderful. I remember working with Professor John Miller, who headed up the philosophy department when I was here. And I was doing an honors program with him, and we would sit together in his house, and he would light a cigar or a pipe, and he'd sit back and he'd say, "Now, Mr. Raynolds, what are we going to talk about today?" And he was just such a wonderful man, and he said, all the facts you're getting in your different courses and so forth, not so important. And all the courses, you won't even be able to remember the courses you took, let alone the facts. If you can get one idea from a course and keep that with you, that's a successful course. And I think you all have many special memories of Williams, and I have many too, but I have one that was kind of an epiphany for me. I was sitting outside under a tree in the sunshine outside Griffin Hall in the late spring with an English instructor, just the two of us. And we were talking about Hardy's The Ordeal of Richard Feverel, and how preconceived notions of parents can really ruin a child's life. And that was a moment somehow on the grass, talking one-on-one with a Williams instructor that stayed in my mind as one of the wonderful things about Williams. And as I reflect, I think about what drove me. I've always been a maverick, and I wanted to do things that others didn't do. I mean, who majors in modern poetry? And who fights in the Golden Gloves from Williams? And with my father dying at the early age of 54, and I was 12, that was a tipping point. Number one, I was on my own from that point. And number two, I was sure I would die at age 54 or earlier. And so therefore, I had to get everything done in a hurry. And I'd grown up on the poorer side of family and friends, many of whom had great wealth. So I said, well, I'm going to have to do something different and do it on my own. And some of you know of the term the imposter syndrome. Well, the imposter syndrome is when you feel like you're an outsider looking in to the inner circle, that you're not in the inner circle. And that if people really get to know me, they'd reject me. And I think I had a little bit of that, and that led to trying harder and taking on challenges at Williams. I played 4 years of football, and I was a lousy football player, and doing AAU boxing, Golden Gloves, and being a poetry major. I certainly took the path less traveled, and I began climbing mountains. And I'm not nearly the mountaineer, of course, Mark Udall is, but he paid me a compliment in 1988 that I will always remember. We were climbing a peak in Colorado in the collegiate range called Mount Harvard. It was a 14,000-foot peak, and it was July, but we climbed it, and we came down in a blinding snowstorm. And it had been a fairly strenuous, tough climb. I was 60 years old at the time, and he turned to me and he said, "John," he said, "you're an animal." And in mountain speak, that's a tremendous compliment. I've never forgotten that gift from Mark. So, mountaineers and mountaineering can really be a metaphor for life. I think there's a quote that I like: "You can't stay on the summit forever. You have to come down again. So why bother in the first place? Just this: what is above knows what is below. What is below does not know what is above. One climbs, one sees. One descends, one sees no longer, but one has seen. There's an art of conducting oneself in the lower regions by the memory of what one saw higher up. When one can no longer see, one can still know." And I think that says a lot about many things that we do in life that are challenges. And whether it's underwater demolition or spending 4 years in Ghana working for government intelligence, changing jobs frequently. People kept saying, "Raynolds, you can't hold a job." But I kept saying I was trying to get new skills and find new challenges and writing some books and so forth. And my 10 years at Outward Bound, what a privilege that was. Over 200,000 kids had their lives changed during my watch and on Mark's watch. And I wrote my first haiku poem on a solo on Outward Bound, and we were supposed to share our stuff in the morning around the fire. I was scared to death. I thought, "Oh, what if they don't like my poem?" And so I did my poem, and they liked it. And I subsequently wrote another 99 haiku poems and put them in a book called Footprints in the Sand, a haiku journey. So taking a risk and jumping in with both feet can be okay. When I applied for the job of CEO of Outward Bound, I'd been on the board for 10 years. I felt I knew the problem areas. I thought, I've got this job nailed. And I was already organizing my life to do this job. And, of course, they chose somebody else. But, there was a silver lining about it, because my children gathered around and gave me loving support, and they hadn't seen Dad fail to get something in life much before that, and I had usually achieved what I'd set out to do. And so this was a special turning point for me. And I'd been a rather distant and demanding father, but now came much closer. I was vulnerable, much closer to my children, and have a wonderful relationship. So I feel very blessed. And at the end of the day, relationships are what's important. And my children here, Bill and Virginia and Helen and Linda, and especially my wife Eileen, who exemplifies serving others. She was president of a major corporation and then went to seminary and became ordained as a minister and works as a hospice minister. And after I'd lost my wife 17 years ago, she picked me up out of a totally deep despair and made life worth living again. So I'm very grateful for that. And at Williams, we're steeped in the tradition of helping others. We grew up in the shadow of the Haystack Monument. And so I expect to pass through this world but once. Any good deed that I can do, any kindness or good deed I can show to another person, let me not defer it or delay it. Let me do it now. So I think that's the kind of thing I've tried to follow in my life, and also to make every day count. Let me close with a quote that talks to that, written 3,000 years ago in the Sufi. "Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief span are contained all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of work, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is only a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. So that has been my thought on making every day count. Thank you.
John. Good job, John.